5 signs you have toxic relationship with yourself. Hi, my name is Dr. Meghana Dikshit. I'm the author of the book You Matter and Brain and Performance Expert. Today's topic is 5 signs that you have toxic relationship with yourself. If you're someone who would like to understand what does it actually mean, how do I know that I have toxic relationship, or what am I doing that is actually impacting my life? If you are ready to know all of this, type ready in the chat box and let's straight dive in to understand what are the signs that you have toxic relationship. Remember, one of the relationships that we share from the birth to the death, and one pretty important one, is the relationship that you share with yourself. In fact, a lot of people focus outside in the relationships they have with their personal family members, their friends, their office colleagues, but very rarely we reflect on the relationship we share with ourselves. And it's very, very important for you to understand that how you treat yourself is how you teach other people to treat you. So if you're someone who's going through any sort of a relationship challenges, you feel people don't listen to you, people don't give you importance, people take you for granted, you're giving out too much and you're not receiving, the reciprocation is very little. For anything that's happening in your life, you got to introspect. Because you know what the fact is? You cannot control the outside world, but you can always take care of your inner world. Type that in the chat box. I cannot control the outer world, but I can always control my inner world. Now understand something. How do you recognize whether you really have a toxic relationship with yourself? Remember, we spoke about that how you get treatment from outside world, how people outside treat you, the opportunities that you get, the way people look at you, and the way people talk to you. All of this is a reflection of what relationship that you have with yourself. Because when you have a toxic relationship, you're pretty much bad at, setting boundaries. You're not able to say no to people. You are going to be, pleasing other people, and you're going to pay more attention and more importance to other people outside of you. You're going to prioritize other people more than you. Now look at your habits. Do you have some self-sabotaging behaviors and self-sabotaging habits? And if your answer is yes to that, type yes, by the way, in the chat box. If you have any self-sabotaging habits and behaviors, the one thing I want to tell you is you do share a toxic relationship with yourself. Because you know what? When you're climbing the Mount Everest, now here I'm talking about a metaphor of Mount Everest. Your life is like Mount Everest. You have a long life, you have a huge life, and you, I'm sure, have big goals too. Now, when you're climbing that, that Mount Everest, what's your biggest asset? You are your biggest asset. Type in the chat box, I'm my biggest asset. If you are your biggest asset, and if you're not focusing on that asset, what's going to happen is you're going to get worn out, you're going to get tired, you're going to feel drained while climbing that Mount Everest. You're going to give up in midway. You're going to come back. You're going to start, procrastinating on training yourself to get where you want to be. If all of this is happening to you, then let's understand that why do you have this toxic relationship with yourself? Now, major reasons to have the toxic relationship with yourself is coming from the space of blame or guilt or shame. Now, while you may be growing up, you went through some sort of an emotional, physical trauma where your parents were either not available or they blamed you for situation or something like that, where you were a child where you didn't understand how to cope up with that trauma. And this entire blaming, guilt, shaming came up as a cope-up mechanism. By the way, if you're someone who keeps, going through the guilt again and again, I want you to check out my video, which I have done already, and how to work on the inner guilt that you have. So if you're going through something like that, then you know that you developed this mechanism as a child to protect yourself from the environment outside. But it worked when you were younger. Now it's not going to work when you're older, especially when you want to create that great life for yourself. So when you're on the journey of greatness, it's very important that you reflect upon your relationship with yourself. Now, I'm not saying, I've seen also in this world that people have gone tilted onto the other side of being positive about self, where even if you are making a mistake, even if there is something going on in your space, you are completely ignoring and saying, hey, you know what, I'm just like this, deal with it. Now, I'm not talking about a toxic positivity. But I'm definitely talking at the relationships that you share with yourself, the signs that you must know that you are not having a good relationship with yourself. The first sign that you are in toxic relationship with yourself is if you're overly critical about yourself or other people. Now, hey, I have done a video, elaborate video on how to overcome your self-criticism. Check out the link, and if that helps you, go ahead and watch that. But let's come back to the sign that if you feel that you are overly critical about yourself or other people. Now, you have developed this as a cope-up mechanism. Now, being mildly critical or knowing your mistakes and taking responsibility of it and then working on it is great. But suppose if you are, you did something and that didn't go well, now putting yourself in a constant guilt, blaming yourself and shaming yourself for the mistake that you made is going to make you feel very low about yourself. It's going to strip off your self-esteem, your confidence. And if you apply the same thing, a lot of parents I've seen, or a lot of people do this to their colleagues also. So if you're going to be overly critical about yourself or other people, you know this, right? If you do this, the way you talk to yourself, if that is the way you will talk to other people, they won't be with you. They will leave you, right? So the first sign is if you're overly critical when you make a mistake, not just taking a responsibility, but you're beating yourself for it, then you know you're in a toxic relationship with yourself. The second sign that you're in a toxic relationship with yourself, if you justify your unhealthy habits. Now, your unhealthy habits like laziness, procrastination. What is at the core of that unhealthy habit? The core of that unhealthy habit is I'm not good enough. So if you feel that you don't deserve happiness, if you feel that you don't deserve success, you are going to justify why you procrastinate. All the self-sabotaging habits, why do you eat that cake? Or why are you, binge watching? All of that you're going to justify. And if you find yourself justifying your unhealthy self-sabotaging habits, you know it's a second sign that you're in a toxic relationship. The third sign, you have toxic relationship with yourself. If you are doing too much for other people, if you're sacrificing your own mental, physical needs, at the cost of yourself, you're giving it out to other people. Now, you must have heard the importance of self-love, self-care, and why it is important that you take care of your mental, physical health. Rather than giving yourself maybe a nice bubble bath, or maybe, treating yourself for a spa, or maybe just kind of sitting alone and reading a book, or just going for the walk and enjoying exercise, or having a great routine that can help you to take care of yourself. Now, instead of that, if you're constantly giving yourself an excuse and if you keep saying that I don't have time, and I have to do things for other people, know that you are neglecting yourself. And when you're neglecting yourself, you're actually giving a feedback to your body, to your brain, that you're not important. If you are feeling irritated, frustrated, resentful about your actions that you're taking for other people, it's time to take a hard look at yourself to understand that maybe you share a toxic relationship with your own self. Because the foundation of helping other people is you can only help from the full glass. If your glass is empty, you can never be able to help other people with willingness, with happiness, with fulfillment. You're always going to feel resentful when you're helping other people. So if that is happening to you, it's a sign that you take a hard look at yourself. The fourth sign that you may be in a toxic relationship is to know that you have low self-confidence and low self-esteem. If you're constantly having this chatter inside you that when you look into yourself, into the mirror, and you say that, how dumb are you? How inadequate are you? How incapable are you? In any situation that you are in, if you constantly keep telling yourself that, I can't do it, it's not possible, I'm not capable, I don't deserve it. And when something good happens to you, you question that good thing. You question that person's intent. When somebody does something nice to you and you feel that, do I really deserve this? What is the ulterior motive of this person? Why are they doing this to me? I don't think that this is for me. It's too good to be true. Now, if you have all of these things going on in your space, you know that your self-esteem has taken a hit. And for whatever reasons, maybe while growing up, the trauma that you went through, maybe eventually that self-loathing that you do to yourself, and you're constantly, blaming and shaming yourself for certain things that happen in your life, you have a toxic relationship with yourself. The fifth sign, you are, into a toxic relationship with yourself, is a sign where you know that you're constantly seeking appreciation and validation from somebody outside. See, we all want that little compliments, that appreciation, that award or the reward for the work that we do, and there's nothing bad in it. It's natural to expect because it comes from your childhood. While growing up, we all looked up to our parents for validation, to understand whether we are doing something right or wrong. But when you grew up, and if you're constantly seeking, if you have a need to seek validation and approval from other people, then you know one thing about yourself, that you have a toxic relationship with your own self. Because all of this validation that you are asking and seeking for is only make you feel bad about yourself, is only make you feel that you don't have enough, you're not enough. And the lack mindset is building up the low self-esteem in you. So let me know, out of these 5, which one do you have? Even if slightest, even if 5-10% that you have any of these signs, let me know in the chat box which one is it for you. And now I'm going to work on telling you, understanding how can you overcome this toxic relationship that you share with yourself. So if you want to dive in, type dive in the chat box and let's start. Now, once you've identified your sign that you may be in a toxic relationship with yourself, let's understand how can you start getting over it. The first thing that you need to do is recognize and accept. Because healing is a journey. It's not a quick tip. It's not something that is overnight going to change. It's a journey, and over a period of time, you will overcome it. So be committed to be on this journey. Be committed to work on yourself every single day. Now, how do you start working on yourself? The first thing that you need to understand is your self-talk. Recognizing your self-talk. And I've already told you this, that I've already done a video on your, critical self-talk, and you can actually look for this, ways that you can overcome your self-critical conversations. Now, you need to work on your self-talk. The second thing that you need to do is you need to go to a healer, a therapist, to deal with this if there is a trauma which is there inside that's causing this to happen. And it's a worthy investment to actually seek help from some expert to get over your challenges. Now, when you want to learn maths, you go to an expert, right? You don't just learn maths on your own. So why do we not think mental health challenges or the challenges that we face on day-to-day basis, that you need an expert to deal with those challenges? And the third thing that you need to understand is your community. You have to allow people in your life to support you and to help you. Because one of the biggest problems if you have a toxic relationship with yourself is, even though, if there are 10 lines people said, out of those 10 lines, 8 are good and appreciative of you, you will never be able to hear those 10 appreciation lines. You'll only hear the 2 lines which are of critical feedback. And your focus is all going to be about how people are bad with you. So you have to let people in. You have to be in the constant, system of support and a community which is all the time helping you to overcome your inner demons. So these are the most critical aspects that you need to work on. If this video helped you, share it with at least 10 more people. Make sure that you're helping somebody by sharing this video today.